but during training sessions, I always want to play with the better players. You're already one of the best players on the planet at the moment.
Thank you.
How do you train them?
I knew that I had a possibility of training at NAS Sports Complex, and it has been one of the best decisions in my career.
Is there a cost for you to use that facility? Can you practice for that? Did it impact you? Did you like it?
I do like the pain. I've suffered a lot in the good way. You have to be comfortable in the uncomfortable situations.
He's your father-in-law. Is there quite a clear working relationship? Like obviously you will have to switch to son-in-law and then also switch to player and coach relationship. So how does that work? Steph aware that he was also training with a fellow Olympic champion?
The most important thing for me is that there's full focus. There's also been players there who had a very tough time, who didn't really come back.
Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode with the Average and Not Average podcast. I'm CK.
I'm Tactician.
And today we are going to be talking about training. So Viktor, you're jumping straight in, you're an elite player, training is part of your life. It's a huge part of your life really.
Oh.
How much time do you spend training?
Yeah, I don't train as much as I did, even just 3-4 years ago, simply because my body can't hold up the big training volume anymore. Mm-hmm. But I would say usually between everything from 2.5-3 hours to 5 hours a day, with everything included.
Yeah. So when you say 5 hours, is that split across 2 sessions?
No, that means like with everything, with strength training and
everything.
So SNC, my total, I won't get past 4.5-5 hours on a very, very high training day with everything included.
Okay. But training is only half the equation, right? You have recovery as well. Is recovery 1-to-1 ratio?
Maybe a little bit less, but you would say like normally in the evenings, I lay in my compression boots. I do a little bit of breath work as well sometimes, here and there. And so basically every time you're not on court, you're basically recovering, right? So there's different methods you can do, like be it mental recovery, physical recovery.
Okay.
So badminton, as a professional athlete, it is a 24-hour a day thing.
Non-stop.
There is non-stop. I always think about what action I do, what impact will this have on my badminton.
Okay.
So it never stops.
And obviously, actually, you're the first badminton athlete that I see with the compression boots. So you started with the Normatec boots, right? So
many years ago.
Remember. Yep.
Many years.
How did you come across that?
From an early age, I was very, very focused on optimizing every part of my life in order to become a better player. I was pretty extreme back in the day, even in 2012-13, I was wearing the blue light blocking glasses.
Okay.
Back when they were not really that popular, especially in Europe and Asia for that matter. Mm-hmm. I was trying out different stuff like grounding, going bare feet in the grass and everything. I tried everything, all kinds of diets and stuff like that. And
so
compression boots.
You've gone 2 and with the diet. So give us one more. So you said touching grass, grounding, right?
Yeah, that sounds pretty extreme. That and I did. I tried a lot of different diet stuff, and then especially in terms of sleep, the different cycles, which is one which has really stuck with me. Not getting the blue light in the evening, which is hurting your sleep, and making sure that when you travel to a country with another time zone, get out and get sunlight in the eyes in the morning, all that kind of stuff. And then just from a recovery standpoint, I've tried a lot of different stuff: the compression boots, ice bath. Electric stimulus on the muscles, all those kind of things you can do nowadays.
The TENS machine, right?
Yes, exactly.
So what remains now? So obviously you've played on a circuit like 10-15 years now. What is remaining? What are the recovery techniques that you use? So compression boots?
Compression boots is a big one. I do the blue light blocking glasses. Mm-hmm. Then I also have, if I'm, for example, here in Denmark during the winter, I have like a light which I will turn on in the morning to just simply give me some light. Yep. To make sure that my circadian rhythm is on point.
Okay.
And then my diet, I just keep it pretty healthy. I have tracked and managed several times during my career and tried different ways of eating, and now I've sort of found the happy place where there's a great balance, and I can still enjoy in, you know, when I'm doing the whatever
Cheat days.
Yeah, not cheat days, but like more like days where I don't really, you know, follow it. You can call it a cheat day, but
more relaxed day.
More relaxed day. Yeah.
Okay. In terms of food, so training, obviously, you have when you have high training volume or intense training volumes, like I guess diet prioritizes more protein, more carbs for energy. Is there anything that you don't eat? Like, do you eat dairy? Do you have dairy?
Yeah, I do eat dairy. You know, everyone, not that much, but I eat a little bit. You know, every person is different, and obviously, if you have any food allergies and stuff like that, so basically, you have to figure out what works for you. You know, on high training volume days, I have quite a bit of carbohydrates. Badminton is a really high intensity sport, so for me, it works way better if my carbohydrate stores is full, and I try to have at least 1.5 gram of protein per kilogram, maybe more actually. And then, my carbohydrates, just to get a little bit nerdy on the stuff, you know, is usually the main part is circulated around, or is put around training, like before, during, after. And then if I have a little bit of less activity in the evening, there will be a little bit...
You scale back?
Yes, it would be like less carbs, more healthy fats and protein.
Okay. Obviously you work with a nutritionist. How often do you adjust your diet according to your load and also competition? Do you eat differently during competitions?
During competition, again, you know, usually my carbohydrates will be around the matches itself. I'm a big guy, so I do burn a lot of calories. I've also done tests with you know, an American company where you drink like something called double label water, where basically it can track your expenditure, your energy expenditure with like a 3% margin. So very accurate test, and when I train a lot, I do need like 5,000 calories or something like that a day. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. So obviously now, for example, like I wear the Whoop. You obviously wear the smart wearables as well. Do you find them helpful, or are you a complete data nerd, or?
Yeah, I find them pretty helpful. The only issue for me is that I'm a perfectionist. So for me, I really need to choose when I use it. It's good sometimes to sort of get a feeling where you are. But during tournament, for example, if the Whoop tells you you're under recovered and you have to go in and play a final, then it's a little bit of a...
it messes with your head.
Exactly.
Okay. So, so going back to actual training at the moment. So you are based in Dubai.
Yes.
You're training at NAS.
Yes.
Can you tell us, how did that come about? Obviously, you moving to Dubai, did you already have NAS on board before you moved to Dubai, or how does that work?
Yeah, I was very fortunate that, you know, when the Super Series finals back then were held in Dubai, back in 2000, I think it started in 14, and I was there in 15 where I went to the final. Then I won in 16 and I won in 17. And then I came into contact with the NAS Sports Complex, and they invited me out to have a look. Already back then in 2017, I said, this place is so nice. It has everything. To me, I haven't been at every sports complex, but it's definitely up there with the best in the world, if not the best. So for me as a badminton player and also an individual who like to optimize all the time, this was a great opportunity. And then after the Tokyo Olympics, I needed a new change in my career. And I knew that I had a possibility of training at NAS Sports Complex. And we jumped in and went, took family to Dubai and lived there. And it has been one of the best decisions in my career.
Is there a cost for you to use that facility?
No, I don't pay anything to be there. So I'm very, very fortunate and very thankful. Also, Yonex is a great support to me, helping with arranging the courts and shuttles, etc. So it's a great, just very, very good environment for me to be in.
Because obviously I think I've seen on NASA's social media, they obviously work with other elite athletes as well. I think I've seen Ronaldo train there in football.
There's a lot of
Novak Djokovic. So they're used to elite sport, and it's actually having you on site as well. So in terms of sessions, do you go in every day?
I go in every day. I go in every day. I book the sessions that I need. And there's a great gym there, recovery facilities, everything. So all in all, it's just great.
Do you live close to the facility as well?
Yeah, it takes me around 25 minutes to get there, so it's very convenient.
Okay. And then, so your coaching structure, tell us a bit more about your current coaching structure right now.
My current coaching structure right now is so that PK, who has been with me since we moved to Dubai, Henrik PK Rode, he is also my father-in-law, but he has been in my coaching team for the last 3.5, 4 years almost now.
Okay.
So he is in Dubai quite often. He is helping me when I'm back in Denmark as well. With up until now, it's been mainly the skill sessions because up until now I've been at the Danish national team when I'm back home. Now I started, with Peter Gator as well. He's a part of my coaching team now, and I'll be practicing at the Peter Gator Academy when I'm back in Denmark. PK will still help me, and they will divide the trainings in between them.
Okay.
But my main practices, which is in the morning of the high intensity, will be at the Peter Gator Academy.
Okay. Is there a specific site? It's obviously on Peter Gator KBK or Gentoft, right?
Yes, those two places.
Those two places.
Yes.
Okay. So is there do both coaches sit on the same level, or is one above the other? Or like Peter's the head, or PK's the head?
Same level. It sort of depends. They will divide the tournaments a little bit between each other.
Okay.
At All England, they will both be there. We work together as a team.
So tell me a little bit more about how you structure the training. So obviously your body's demands and needs are very different to, say, an 18-year-old committed athlete, right? So you're scaling down intensity for certain days, but you're building more skill sets, more volume in other ways. Do you sit down, say, 6 months ahead and have both Peter and PK sit down and go, I want to do this, I want to do this. These are tournaments I want to optimize. How does that go?
Yeah, we sit down and then we sort of write down which tournaments do I want to peak at. It's usually the championships or the 1000s. And then we make a plan there, and we're okay with training through some tournaments. For example, you can't peak every tournament. It's simply not possible for various reasons. That doesn't mean you can't play well. Yeah. But I'm open to, with the things we're working with, trying out some different stuff in the tournaments to see how it works in the tournament setting. And then, that way you try to improve in the best way possible and time your peak so you make sure you perform in the tournaments you want to.
Can you give me some examples of the changes that you've had to make during tournaments and those that stuck?
A good example is, especially with my physical training, like some of the tournaments, the 300s, 500s, in order to peak like a few weeks after, there are some exercises or the heavier load I will need to go through, like sets and reps.
During the tournament?
During the tournament sometimes, which is not optimal for the next day's training, but next day's match, but it's something which is necessary for me to do in order to peak for the given tournament. Secondly of all, it can be like a technical thing I'm working on, be it on the back court or on the front court. It can be the preparation with the racket, for example.
With minor, tiny things that we don't see.
Exactly, which maybe feel a little bit uncomfortable for me in the start, but you need to get the reps in in order to be comfortable in incorporating it in your game during the big matches. So all those kind of things.
Okay. Do you have an analyst or like a statistician? So, you've won this amount of points against this player, this amount of percentage winners, straight, cross. Where in the court?
One of my closest friend, Rasmus, who I've started a business with him as well. We can take that in another podcast in the investment world. But he has coded a system which we started using back many years ago, back in 2018 or so, with the exact things you're talking about here, like to get the statistics, to get some data from my opponents and stuff. So we used that to prepare me for the matches, and it's only me who have that system and Rasmus who has it. Like there is some obviously on the market now, but this one is still the best I've used so far.
So that's, I guess you've tailored that to your specific need, right? You wanted this intensity exactly in terms of these
data points, etc.
Level of detail. Yes. Okay. Where do you get the raw data from?
From the matches itself, you have to see and look at it, and you have to type it in, and you have to upload the match. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys do it manual. So there's a team.
Yeah, Rasmus will do it manual. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. How does that feedback into training? So, for example, you give Rasmus the raw data. He then analyzes it, populates it, stats comes out. You then pass it on to PK and Peter?
Then PK will have a call with Rasmus. Now I haven't been in tournament with Peter yet, but if he needs to answer some questions or he has seen some things where he might think there is some kind of pattern, then he can ask Rasmus, and Rasmus will have a look at it.
Okay. And then so in terms of training, so let's talk about, like, say, Lindan, right? He's one of the iconic players.
Definitely.
But he changed his styles after every single Olympic cycle. You've also changed your styles since your first Olympic cycle. Now you're going, I guess, into the 3.5, fourth Olympic cycle, if you think about it.
Yeah.
What has changed significantly for you, and what will continue to change?
Like when you're younger, what goes first when you come close to your 30s, and badminton is a very, very high demanding. It's a very hard sport, so the explosive, all the jumps, the landings, and all the explosive movements, like the speed is the first one that goes really when you get up into it. So try to maintain the speed is very important as you get older, and then you get a little bit clever with economizing with your energy. We saw that with Lindan. He was way more of a rallying player in the last part of his career, while in Beijing in the 2008 Olympics, he was very attacking,
speed and power.
fast.
Yeah.
And that changed a lot. And nowadays, you simply can't just rely on your speed and your power. You have to have the full package. And badminton is a power endurance sport nowadays. Like, you need to have endurance, you need to have power and speed. So it's a great sport and very demanding. And also, especially when you get older and your recovery and the way you train, make sure you train the different systems, like the fast twitch and the slow twitch, like endurance, like muscle fibers is very important.
Do you work with experts from other sports? So obviously you have had your own SNC team specifically. Do you look at how other sports are applicable to your needs in badminton?
Actually, when I was younger and I grew taller, I had a little bit of stress because there was not really any badminton players who were at my height. Who made it in the top of the world rankings, really. There was a few examples of Bao Chunlai, even though he was a few centimeters lower than me. But instead of seeing it as a big disadvantage, I saw it as an advantage, and I hired people who could help me. And I looked a lot at basketball as well. They're tall and big, but they're still moving very explosively, very smoothly. And I found a lot of inspiration in them.
So, sidetrack a little bit. Who's taller, you or Jesper Toft? Who's the tallest professional player at the moment?
But again, mixed doubles is different. There's quite a few mixed doubles players who are very tall.
Yeah.
But in the men's singles, in the top, I'm one of the tallest, Toma Popov as well.
Oh, yeah.
But if you look at top 5 over the last many years, there hasn't really been anyone at my height, maybe historically, actually.
Yeah.
Thomas Stur from Denmark.
Oh.
Maybe you don't know him, but he was also a very tall guy and also did very well.
Okay. So, because you've said that you didn't have a lot of data, I guess, benchmarks against tall players previously.
Yeah.
What has been your secret sauce? What's the thing that sets you apart, that allows you to compete with slightly shorter but significantly faster, more agile players, like, say, Ginting and Kenyu?
I think that since a young age, I've been very focused on optimizing everything I could from a physical standpoint. I've done a lot of flexibility training. I've done a lot of strength training from an early age, a lot of footwork specific exercises and stuff like that.
Okay.
Really try to push the barrier of what's possible for me as a tall athlete to move on court.
Okay.
And that's why I've been able to compete with all these faster and explosive players. I've been able to really use my height as an advantage, and even though there's a long way down to the floor for me in the defense, I still managed to be quite mobile for my height due to the exercise, the flexibility, and the strength training I've done over the many years.
Okay. What's your favorite training? Okay, so obviously you have your on-court training, but on-court training, obviously you have your splits, for example, like shadows, footwork, 2v1s, routine, condition. What's your favorite one? So let's start with the on-court one. What's your favorite style of training?
I like the 2v1 deep pressure with we do an exercise called combi, where it's like your deep pressure whenever you lift or hit it long, it goes into front and back defense.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoy that a lot. I also enjoy a lot of 1v1 where your sparring partners, they change out all the time. So you get like a fresh player coming in all the time, and you just get more and more tired as the intervals go on. That's a great exercise for me.
You like the pain, huh?
I do like the pain. I've suffered a lot in the good way over the many years.
Okay, so I think I watch a lot of cycling as well, like road racing, cycling. So like they say that the art of loving the pain.
Yes,
it's a pure skill, and also it's a bit crazy as well, hardcore, but then learning how to cope with the pain, actually enjoy the pain is part of the process, right?
It is like you have to be comfortable in the uncomfortable situations, both from a physical and a mental standpoint. As an athlete, otherwise you'll never make it. It's a lot of suffering, and also you have to be very honest with yourself when it comes to, did I actually go all in here? Because it's only you who knows where the line is, and sometimes you have to step over that line. The only one you're cheating if you're half-assing it a little bit. It's only yourself you're cheating, and you need to go all in.
Okay. So I play as an amateur player. But during training sessions, I always want to play with the better players because I feel like that pushes me, that keeps me on my toes. The intensity is also good, so I'm always maxing out, or I feel like I'm maxing out, or at least I have to go above and beyond. Yes. You're already one of the best players on the planet at the moment. Thank you. And how do you train them? Because obviously you have a lot of training partners.
Yeah, for me in training, it's not that important that I all the time have on par or better players than me to spar with as much as it was in the past, because nowadays, first of all, you have so many tournaments, so you get a lot of match practice, you get a lot of matches during the year, you play a significant amount. Also, for me, when I'm back home training, actually building up the base, and you can do so many things in badminton with 2v1, fatigue yourself out a little bit and then play the 1v1 like I do. So for me, it's actually more important to have players who knows how to feed, like who really goes all in on the feeding, are focused. Of course, they need to have a decent level, but are focused and are really, fully dialed in and committed when we do the training. So that's the most important thing for me right now. So I can set up a training, or we can set up a training where I still will get full value.
So when you say set up a training, so obviously you have a lot of players flying in and out of Dubai, in and out of Copenhagen. How big is your pool of even opponents on the world tour, right? So you have them coming into your cell and actually do that. How big is your pool of players and friends as well? I guess colleagues and friends who are coming in and out, helping each other along.
Yeah, it really depends on the period and how is the calendar looking for the different players, and are they able to come and stuff like that. So it's a big pool of players actually who have been through the
go from Brian Young to Look at You. The juniors here.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of players going through. And again, the most important thing for me is that there's full focus. There's also been players there, without mentioning any names, who had a very tough time, who didn't really come back. Because it is pretty hard to be there. And
the one and done.
The requirements are very high for me. I want to feel that the players who are there, they want to go all in and they want to invest in this. Otherwise, it's probably better we don't train together.
So obviously you've now opened the conversation a little bit more. Do you have that hard conversation with the players who come up and then they're not at the level that you want?
It's not a question of the level that I want.
It's the commitment levels.
It's the commitment, and if I feel like a player on the training, if I feel like he can do better, or he can have a more focus, or he can go more all in, I will tell them in practice, because I only want the best for the given player. Obviously, I want to have great sparring myself, but you need to set high standards in the training environment in order to have a world-class training setup. So I put the bar very high for my sparring partners, and I expect that they do their best. It's not about they can't make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but it's about the focus, the preparation, and the actual commitment, as you say, when we practice. That is very important.
And then, do you also share PK and Peter's resources? So obviously they're there to coach you. Will they also coach or give advice to the players on site, like your sparring partners, training partners? Because obviously if your sparring partners, training partners get better, you also get better quality training, right?
Yeah, definitely. We when we're there, there will also be feedback and stuff like that for the other players and training there, and they will also get, I think if you ask the players who have been there, I think they would say that they really enjoyed it, and they didn't feel like it was only like there for me. I think they get a lot of out of it themselves as well, which is something I'm very happy about.
I mean, obviously, I had the opportunity to speak to some of the younger Danish players that you've had down training fairly recently, and they both said they cannot wait for that call. Like, so they're like, if Viktor calls or texts me, I'll be there anytime, anywhere. So they really look forward to having that opportunity to be able to train with you.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming you really enjoy it and appreciate that?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I really appreciate it, and for me, I've had several young Danish up and coming players in Dubai helping me, sparring with me. And for me, that's a good way also to, I hope it helps them and a lot and gives them motivation. And I want to see Danish badminton succeed, and to have some players there with me is something that I value a lot.
Raising the bar.
Yeah.
I want to then go on to costs.
Yes.
Training out on your own, setting up your own cell. Okay, NAS doesn't cost you anything. But what about the players that fly in? Are they responsible for their own costs, and then you sort out everything in training? How does that work?
It really depends. Like, every training block is different. Like,
how long's a training block?
It depends on the calendar.
Okay.
Again. Usually it's very different from player to player. Like, sometimes they're responsible of the accommodation and the flights themselves.
Yeah.
Sometimes for the younger Danish guys who don't have the funds that other players have, I will support them to come train with me and make sure that they're looked after. So it's very, very different compared to the different players. And some players also have a significant funding from the federation and stuff like that. And the younger Danish players, for example, they need some kind of support from me. So that's how we usually do it. Shuttles and courts and the training is on me, obviously. So besides the living cost, there isn't really any crazy participation fee or anything in regards to training with me.
Yeah, there's no appearance fees.
No appearance fee other than full focus.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about shuttles here. So obviously, in the amateur world, cost is quite a big deal, especially for clubs or if you have your own little training groups. A lot of us, we wonder about shuttles as amateurs, right? If we have our own club or training cell, shuttle costs. How does it work? What shuttles do you recommend? Like the super high-end ones, or what do you use?
Yeah, for me personally, it's like worked into my contract because shuttles are very expensive. It's not just something you use and waste. It's very, very expensive nowadays, and the quality of the shuttles, especially Yonex shuttles, is very, very high. So for me personally, I use the AS30s or AS50s, like 50s usually, and then we have the step over, which is the tournament.
Yeah.
I would say, like, it really, really depends on the needs. Like, you don't need to go up and play with the 30s or 50s. Like, you can take the step under, and you will still be plenty fine as a more recreational player on a level, on maybe a little bit of a lower level. For me personally, I prefer the 30s or the 50s.
30s, 50s.
So I usually invest in those.
The dream is the F90, right? The tournament.
Yes. And that we don't use at the high-end tournaments.
Yeah. I mean, I think around the world there's only 4 tournaments that use the F90.
Yes.
All England, Olympics, World Championships, and the Japan Open.
Yeah.
So 4.
That's such a good shuttle.
Yeah. It's hard to come by.
It is.
It's so hard to come by, but I love it.
Yeah.
They just don't die.
No.
Okay. And then we talked about cost. We talked about players. And then obviously you have another Dane that's actually based in Dubai already.
Yes.
Anas. Yes. You've trained with him once. Okay, so how did that come about? Who messaged who? Tell us a little bit more.
It's like sort of a mutual agreement that it made sense at that time to have a few weeks of training together. As you say, Anas is in Dubai. It made sense to train together there. For me, my body, at this point requires very specific training. I need to plan it very, very seriously now. With the state I'm in physically, I need to be very on point with everything. So let's see if it happens again in the future. But obviously, it's great to have a lot of World Cup players around the world, and now you see that many players are actually open to being also outside of their own, and there is actually money enough for the players in order to set up their own training if they want to. We've seen several, several examples over the last few years. So to be, one of the first movers on that, I think is great.
Yeah, I think you were one of the first ones to show that it was clearly achievable and capable to do outside of the federation system.
Yes.
And then now, obviously, like in Malaysia, you have there's now a cell as well, right? So you have Zija on his own, and then you have the pool of the doubles players, that mixed doubles and the level doubles players. And so that has been possible. Will you be looking for? Is there like a perfect player or a batch of players that you would really love to train with or against?
No, I'm open to practicing with all kinds of different players. I know that now here we're before the German Open as we talk now. And I know some of the France players will be at the Peter Gator Academy, and I'll train a little bit with them. So I'm not that kind of guy who are afraid to train with X
Anyone
and Y. Yeah, so as long as it fits into the training, that's the only thing for me right now is that I need to really plan my training according to what I need physically, and that's why sometimes it's hard for me to commit to playing with a player who also requires a lot of focus.
Okay, we're going to go back to Federation a little bit. So previously, Kenneth Jonassen, we're going to talk about him a little bit. You have an excellent relationship with Kenneth.
Yeah, definitely.
So he was the chief coach of the Danish national team. He's now moved across to Malaysia to head up the singles department there. And previously, when he was the chief coach of the Danish national team, every time you were back in Copenhagen, you trained with the national team.
Yes.
So, but now you train with Peter. Is there a reason why for the move?
Yeah, first of all, I felt like I needed something else. Second of all, I reached out to the Federation some time ago to sort of see if there was a way we could maybe work together in another way. For example, with the physios out on tour, if we could, even though I'm not on the Federation, could there be some kind of, working together where I could use the physios and stuff like that, and I could, if I had to pay anything, that would be fine. I would be happy to do so. Also, back in the day, I was also open for, if they wanted to send young players to come train with me in Dubai and stuff like that, I think it would be beneficial for all. But it didn't really seem like they were interested in working together that way, which is totally fine. But that just means that I have decided to basically just go on my own and be outside the Federation. And I will still be at the, when I'm selected, I will still be ready to play at the tournaments and represent my country. But at this point right now, I will be outside the Federation training no matter where I am in the world.
So Kenneth now, say for example, if you're based in Malaysia or whenever you're training in Malaysia, there's an extended period of time, would you reach out to him and say maybe, potentially they can work together?
Yeah, if they're open to, well, if I, for example, if I play a few tournaments in Asia and there's a week where I need to be in Singapore or Malaysia, and there's
more sense to stay there?
Yeah, it does, yeah, for sure. I would try to see, and I would be happy to be at band.
Okay, yeah, because obviously, Analyst have done it a few times.
Yeah,
okay.
I've also been there.
You've also been there as well.
It's great that they're open to having different players there.
I mean, I think VM, the younger players would really be excited seeing you guys there, I guess. So training systems. As far as I understand, as a badminton fan, badminton nerd, Asia has more emphasis on volume.
Yes.
You guys have more emphasis on intensity.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so what is the significant difference in your opinion? Obviously, I guess you've done both.
Yeah, I've done both. I think the interesting thing is, first of all, that so different training styles can still produce so many good players, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is very, very interesting to me. I think that obviously in my head, you should train as what the intensity, at least it's very important that you have the intensity in your training, which is how it would be in a tournament.
In a match
In
situation.
a match, yes.
Okay.
Obviously also if you overdo both, like either if you overdo volume or you overdo intensity, that means your risk of injury is also significantly higher. So I try to train both systems, both the more like volume kind of thing. I can't do as much on court as I could in the past, but then I do it on the bike, etc., etc.
Okay.
Or
less impact.
Yes, less impact, longer duration.
Yep.
And then on court you can do the high intensity stuff there. So I think a mixture of both is the way forward for me. But badminton is very hard on the joints and your movement mechanics and the way you the way you plan your training and make sure you have some kind of how can you say,
managing that load level.
exactly, managing the load is very important.
So so this is from conversations from throughout the past with me, with other players as well. So certain tournaments on the tour, on the circuit, in certain halls are stiffer, like the ground is a lot stiffer. It's like if it's like full concrete or if it's underlaid and stuff like that. So do you prepare specifically for those? Like, this tournament's gonna be hard on your joints. Like, you go in with a mentality ready.
No, not really. But what you do prepare for is that some tournaments will usually have slower shuttles.
Yes.
You know that the rallies will be longer, for example, All England. So you need to physically be very strong and very, ready for the endurance, kind of match, like, match intensity. Even though some of the years there has been a little bit of drift and there has been a little bit of wind, but mainly and usually it will be pretty long rallies there. So in that regard, I will maybe, I'll change the training, and when I know who my opponent is, I will also do exercises where make sure that my sparring partners are making specific shots and stuff like that.
Okay.
So in that sense, yes.
So okay, so you just literally touched upon something that I was just literally going to go into. Certain players don't want to know who their opponents are, and they take it day by day. So you're the type of player that wants to know the draw as early as you can, so you can prepare as much as you can.
Just the first round player mainly, or if I know that there might be a big matchup coming up in the second or third round. If I do well, then maybe I will plan for that. It really depends, but I look at the draw for sure, who I might be up against, or is there a certain theme which goes through the different players I'll play, so I'm at least prepared for how the playing style might be.
Okay. And again, obviously, this is all fed back through your team system. So like Peter, PK, and then they are both on court. So tell me a little bit more about what they normally say to you in a match situation. Is there times where full panic stations, everything's gone bad?
No, I haven't had Peter behind the court yet. But PK, sometimes he will need to calm me down. Sometimes if my temper is running away with me a little bit. Otherwise, it's mainly like small things to make sure that I'm focused on the right things within the rallies.
Okay.
So it can be whatever, playing the forehand corner or the backhand corner. Making sure that I don't just smash hard all the time, but variate the speed of the shots. All those kind of things mainly. And if I have any insecurities or I feel a certain way, I'll be vocal about that to my coach behind the court, so he sort of knows how I feel. So that's basically it. I don't want like an overload of information. So it's small things which is important for the rally to go my way.
Do you train those kind of conversations during training?
Yes and no. Like, we don't do it like really, how it would be in a match. But usually you get coaching points during the exercises and in between the small breaks and stuff. So yes and no.
Yes and no. Okay. And then now you've mentioned Peter not being in the chair for yet a few times now. Are you looking forward to it? Are you nervous about it? You've worked with him for before, right?
Yeah, I know Peter quite well. We've known each other for many years. I played with him and, trained with him for the last part of his career as well. So I know him, and we have had a good handful of weeks together training, and we will have German Open as sort of the warm-up tournament together. So I'm not nervous at all. I'm sure it will be plenty fine.
Okay, going back to PK now. He's your father-in-law, and obviously you also have your dad as your manager, as your agent as well. Is there quite a clear working relationship? Like, obviously you will have to switch to son-in-law and then also switch to player and coach relationship. So how does that work? Like,
it's very natural to me. Like, as you know, I'm used to working with family.
Yeah.
It has been very convenient also for both of us. When he's in Dubai, he's close to his daughter and his grandchildren as well, right? So it's it's great.
He's also doing multiple roles, right? Coach, father-in-law, dad, granddad.
Yeah, you can say so. Yeah. So for both of us, it's great. You know, we have a strong relationship in that regards, and that's awesome for the entire family.
Does he enjoy the warmer weather?
He does. We all do. The summers are very, very hot, but now we are in February here in Denmark. It is super cold. In Dubai, it's pretty nice. So
okay, so essentially, you can't wait to get back.
yeah, yeah, it's okay. We are in the lead up to the All England, so it's all going to be fine. So it's fine being back.
Okay, talking about All England, you said that it was slow. So obviously, last year in the hall they had new grey colored mats.
Yeah.
Can you practice for that? Did it impact you? Did you like it?
I think it was pretty cool, something different. You know, I felt like it was nice.
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked the change. I don't know how the spectators and the fans liked it, but as a player, it was pretty cool. Yeah. That being said, it's not like I'm painting the course grey at NAS. So we're just there in the warm-up leading up to the tournament, but it's not something we really train for. Sometimes we play on red mats, like for the World Tour finals.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Can you ring up Yonex and say, hey, instead of making 5, can you make 6? Can I have?
We can try in another podcast, but I think it would be hard. Also, it's only one tournament, so it might be overdoing it a little bit.
Okay. Slow shuttles. So obviously in a lot of tournaments, slow shuttles. So can you try and describe to listeners who are not watching, what do you mean by fast and slow shuttles?
Like you feel it very easily, like on court. First of all, there is often, quite a bit of drift in many of the stadiums. If you have a very fast shuttle and you play it out in the drift, it will go very, very far out. Where, vice versa. And the other side, if the drift is against you, you can really push it.
Yeah.
So if you have the wind against you together with slow shuttles, you would basically, some players can't even hit it to the backcourt. So you really need to use a lot of strength there, a lot of wrist power. While when you're on the fast side, you really have to be careful as well, especially with fast shuttles. So it's all about control and being able to adapt to the different conditions, and that's a big part of being a badminton player nowadays.
Do you do that specifically in training, though? So do you purposely get a batch of slower shuttles, and then you practice with that all the time? Yeah,
I do, and also I do exercises where you can't play the back, for example, or you can't play the front, or all those kind of exercises, and I can turn on the AC at NAS and turn it up a little bit. So I train playing in windy conditions.
In windy conditions, okay. Because obviously I think I've seen videos of Carolina Marin previously. Yeah. She had fans installed around her training hall and to simulate kind of like Istoris Nayan or Axiata Arena.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Okay.
Great idea.
Temperature. So I think to the casual badminton fan, they don't realize, or previously I also guilty of that, don't realize that the tour plays in all around the world. So if, like me, initially you grew up in Southeast Asia, tropical weather, you only know one weather.
Yes.
But playing in different weathers, different conditions, like now in February in Copenhagen, it is cold.
Yes.
And cold and damp in that sense, it makes the shuttle fly very differently to, say, Malaysia or Indonesia.
Yeah.
How do you cope?
Yes and no. Like I do exercises where, I can't play the back and I can't play the front. For example, if you're in cold conditions, usually it would be slow shuttles. If there are a lot of AC and stuff, it would also, there's a lot of spectators, it would be faster. Yeah. So you train for that, and also different speed of shuttles and stuff like that you need to have at your disposal. At least that's important for me. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. It's something we think about.
And then also as a player, is that why young players need time on the tour to mature or get used to playing in different arenas, different cities all around the world, a few seasons, and then they go? Because
definitely,
I guess it's quite hard. Different playing styles as well, right? Because we mentioned different training styles. Asia prioritizes volume, Europe prioritizes intensity, and Denmark obviously is a European powerhouse. You've clearly made the system work as a nation with not a very high population.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then do you then also specifically tailor your training groups program so that you can actually get more benefit for that, or?
Yes, you do. Like, you need time to adapt for sure. If you're on the challenge tour, for example, or the smaller tournaments, it's usually in smaller stadiums. It's way easier to play in those, to control the shuttle.
Yeah.
While when you play in the big arenas where, Istoris Nayan or Axiata Arena in Malaysia, it's a whole different game. So
I've felt that before. So the very first time I had an opportunity to hit inside the All England. Actually, it was with Peter Gere as well on that morning. I didn't understand why people said it's slow. It's slow and hard. I mean, I've played in some big halls, but they're not as big as that. And when you hit it, the shuttle does not fly. It's stopped. It feels like it's stopped and it hangs in the air.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so much pace through it just to get it at the right speed at the right time.
Yeah, it's something you have to get used to. And even us, you know, the first time you're there at in the main hall for the warming up for the tournament, you need time to adapt. And it takes some time before you actually feel comfortable. And sometimes even the first round, you don't really feel comfortable.
Yeah. One thing that it surprised me significantly was in a normal badminton hall, you have walls on the opposite side. So you can actually judge the distance because you know what's the distance between that. At the All England, because it's pitch black, the stands is pitch black. There's no distance to judge.
Yeah.
I couldn't judge the shuttle.
No.
It was so hard. You guys make it look way too easy.
Yeah, that's how it is. But it is very hard. So it is very hard, and every stadium is different. So you really have to be adaptive and be ready to get used to the conditions very fast.
Okay, talk about training days at tournaments.
Yes.
So when you're at a tournament, how early do you arrive for a tournament? Imagine this is not a back-to-back, first tournament of the block.
Yeah.
How far ahead before do you arrive?
Usually, if I'm in Dubai and I need to play in Asia, I usually fly out on the Friday. So I arrive either Friday or Saturday, and then I play on the Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay, so you give yourself 3 to 5 days.
Yeah,
generally.
Yeah, 3 to 4 days or something like that. Generally.
What do you do when you arrive?
I make sure that I try to get into the rhythm as soon as possible, as we talked about in the start of the episode. You know, waking up at the right time, sleeping at the right time. Doing activities, getting outside in the morning, all that kind of stuff. So you get into the circadian rhythm, and then just train and try to get your body in the right place to perform.
Okay, so this one a lot of fans will want to know. How do you travel with your rackets? Do you put them in your check-in case? Do you put them in your racket bag? Do you take them onto the plane? What do you do?
Sometimes I take them with me on the plane, but usually over the last couple of years, it's just easier to put them in a very safe check-in bag. So I put them in there in the top part, and I maybe put some clothing around or some socks to protect the racket.
Not inside your racket bag, and the racket bag inside
No.
Racket bag separate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Separate.
And then so rackets laid inside your check-in bag layered with clothes and soft material?
Yes, exactly.
How many do you go with each time?
10 to 12 usually.
10 to 12?
Yeah.
And then they're all in one single case or multiple cases?
All in one single case. I typically remove the grip. So it doesn't take up too much space because I need new grip anyways. So
okay, and then so you redo your grips every single match fresh?
Yes, every single match.
Every single match?
Every single match. Not for all of them, like obviously. So all my rackets are with fresh grip. I know at least, every time.
Even after training sessions?
I know, not training. I can use them for a few times, but not more than a few times.
Okay, and then what about strings? So I think players are quite sensitive to strings, right? Strings, and obviously you're famed for using your BG80, 31, 33, 10%.
Yes,
pre-stretch.
Exactly.
And then different stringers have different styles and different regions have different weathers as well. Do you fine-tune that? So like when you go to tournaments, like say if it's cooler, like now, Copenhagen, maybe 30, 32 instead of 31, 33?
Not really, but I make sure that the stringers are really following that because it can be very different. So I have obviously, some guys around the world like Tim Willis, for example, who has been on the Ionic string team for many years. He has done my rackets.
You specifically request certain stringers to do your rackets?
Yeah, I know the guys around who have done my rackets many times. Tim is one of them, and other several guys as well who is part of the Ionic stringing team. And they know really how I like it.
Your setup.
Yes. But the Ionic stringing team worldwide are doing a great job. They always do their best, and I can always count on them. So I'm very fortunate that way. So I'm always, I always feel safe that I have good rackets ready for the tournaments, no matter where I play.
Yeah. And this one I just want to add as well. It's like I think since 2024 last year during the French the Olympics in Paris as well.
Yes.
I think there's a mandate of like 50-50 in terms of gender for stringers, which I think is an excellent excellent initiative, because it's really important, because
It is very
you need
important.
to get ladies trained onto a super high level,
Yeah, exactly.
equivalent to the men, to be able to work. And that means the pool of stringers worldwide will also double.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, it's amazing. It's very important for the players as well.
Okay. Then we talked about strings. We talked about how you prepare them. When you travel, do you cut all the strings, and do you only use your strings one time?
No, I don't. I use them
Until they
several times. Yeah, usually until the break. Like, if I play a very important tournament, I make sure that I redo most of my rackets, because the tension does have an impact, and I want them fresh, especially if I travel to a very humid place.
Yeah.
So in that case, I will redo the rackets I need. Yeah.
And you have all your rackets, all 10, 12 in the same tension, because Roger Federer has like one down, one up.
Yeah, I usually have the same tension for my rackets.
All of them.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then, do you train with a specific? So, say All England's coming up. All England uses the F90. Do you specifically train with a specific shuttle before a tournament?
I usually train with the best quality I can get. So in this case, it's the AS50s, great quality. And for me, that's plenty fine preparing for a tournament like that. If I could get the tournament shuttle, then obviously that would be great. But usually it's the 50s.
Yeah. So from personal experience, so like normally for me, I'm obviously not nowhere near as good as you are as an amateur, and so I'm sensitive to shuttle quality as well. Like, so if I'm used to training and playing with a specific shuttle, and in the league matches, we play with like worse shuttles.
Yeah, it makes a huge impact, yeah?
Yeah, and so that's why I was wondering, like, do you train with a specific shuttle used at a specific tournament?
Yeah, we try to. If I play at a tournament where it's another brand we have to use, I try to get a few dozens of that to prepare. Otherwise, it's mainly Ionic shuttles I use for my trainings, simply because, yeah, I'm biased, but they are the best.
Yeah. Okay, so we're now coming towards the tournament. So you've arrived 3-4 days in advance. You're settled in. What do you do? Like, so main hall training is only on the Monday, the one day before the proper tournament starts.
Yeah.
What about the extra 2-3 days? What do you do?
We're in training hall. You know, there's practice courts where you can practice, or
Who books that? Do you just like ring up?
No, it's through the referee. Like, the federation needs to book that, needs to send the wishes in ahead of time, and then you get a certain time, and then it's sometimes way too late in the evening for the next day. Otherwise, I try to find, my own private halls. But yeah, it goes through the referees and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a big thing, I guess, like mathematical and making sure the players in the countries and stuff like that. So hopefully there will be a more effective system also moving forward, because it is a big thing for every country.
And then, so you're used to training, say, with PK and with Peter, and then now in tournaments you have to go through the federation. So do you then I've seen you a few times training with the federation, with the players as well? No?
Yeah, like, there's only the federation who can book courts so the independent players can't book themselves on the main court, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you then happily have to go with the team?
No problem for me.
And
but independent, you can't just book yourself.
And then, so do you then go to the national team coaches and say, look, these are kind of like the little priorities that I'm working on, or I want to try and work on. Can you try and work?
Yeah, like, we have a pretty mutual respect when it comes to that. It's not really any issues in terms of that. We follow the program that the national coach puts together, and then that's how it works. If you want anything extra, we book ourselves, or
outside.
We raise the not concern, but we talk
request.
to the request, and then it goes like that.
And then during tournaments, do you also train? Like, say, so for example, like, if your match is at, I don't know, 2 p.m. in the afternoon on the day, do you do anything in the morning, afternoon?
Sometimes I do have, some skills in the morning or something like that, but usually I just go to the gym and do like, a session which will sort of prime me for the match later on. Like, it will be some jumps or some explosive movements to sort of, put my body back in gear to perform later in the day. So I always do something in the morning if I have something later on.
Okay, and then I guess coffee is also part of training, right?
Coffee is a big part.
It's a routine.
Very big part.
How many do you have a day? What do you like? Is that just black, standard long black?
Just black coffee. I don't put anything in it. I would say if I have an evening match, I have more coffee than usual, 3-4 cups or something. If it's like noon, afternoon, 2, 3.
2.
Yeah.
And then
usually 2.
after match,
like
no more coffee.
morning 2 maybe. Then maybe I have a little bit before the match as well. So 3 usually probably if I have an afternoon, and then 4 if I have an evening match.
Are you particular about your setup, like coffee setup, or are you just happy, just coffee?
I'm not really a coffee snob, I would say. I enjoy good coffee, good beans, but I also find that some beans have a way too strong aftertaste. For me, I just like it very black. Just very black.
Plain and simple.
Black or plain and simple.
Okay.
That's fine.
Do you bring your own beans around, or?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't. I always find a local good cafe or local beans or something like that.
Okay.
But I don't have my own setup with AeroPress and stuff like that. It's,
okay.
I just find coffee.
Okay. But then also, so I know players, for example, like Kirsty Gilmore on the tour. She absolutely loves coffee, and she goes out and try a lot of different cafes around. And so, she's good for coffee recommendations if you need any.
Yeah, I know Kirsty very well, so I'll hit her up if I need any recommendations.
Yeah, okay, perfect. And then so diets. Do you specifically, so in different countries, you sometimes are restricted in terms of what you can and cannot eat, right? And also certain countries, you do need to be aware of if your tummy is going to accept the food that you put in.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to get ill or food poisoning. How do you manage that process? Do you only eat at hotels, or?
Yeah, I usually eat at places where I know that it's like a high quality. I make sure that I eat stuff that I'm used to. I don't really take any chances when it comes to food. I don't try any new stuff. And we play usually the same places every year, right? Usually.
Yeah.
So I know the good restaurants. I know the places which make good food.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very easy for me actually to travel around and eating well.
Any advice for, say, a new player just getting on tour? What would you say? Obviously, because you've had 15 years of play, right? So you know the players.
Yeah.
If a new player comes join us?
I would say, just stick to the foods like you're used to. Like it's very easy to get steamed rice out when you're in Asia, together with some meat and some vegetables. There's many good, places which make noodle soups with some good meat in it and stuff like that. That's great, after playing or before playing and stuff like that. Make sure that your foods are cooked in the start, so you don't have any bacteria you're not used to.
Yeah.
Be careful with the salad, like raw salad and fruits, melon and stuff like that. If you're not, if you're maybe at a place where you're not really sure how it's prepared. So that's what I would say is my best tips. And then maybe bring some oatmeal yourself and make it at your room. Pour some hot water. I do that before every match. Some oatmeal with fruits. You never go wrong with that. So maybe some protein powder on your back as well.
Yeah, and oats also a high glycemic index, right? So it gives you consistent energy.
It does. It's great for sports as well. Good fiber, good nutrients, and it's great.
Yep. And then I want to talk about recovery as well, because recovery is also part of training, right? So once you finish your matches, I think a lot of fans don't know. Once you finish your matches, the first thing you have to do, once you get rushed off court, first thing you do, media.
Yes.
Right? So it could be 5 minutes, it could be 2 minutes, it could be 15, 20, depending on what level of the match and how intense it is. And then what do you do immediately after?
You do some cooling down, be it on the bike if they have it accessible. Do a little bit of running, stretching, maybe some easy treatment with the physio.
How long will it, like the session?
30, 45 minutes maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you, if you play very late, you will maybe prioritize going back as soon as possible. And then you do the things there. You go back, you find something to eat, you get treatment. You maybe take an ice bath or a hot bath, whatever you prefer.
Okay.
And then compression boots, massage, call your family, all that kind of stuff.
So if you finish a match at 11 p.m., that's your routine as well?
I will try to at least prioritize getting the cooling down and some treatment, but food is the first one to get pretty quick, because if you eat way too late, it will impact your sleep. So yeah, that's if I have a very late evening, I'll prioritize getting back, getting the treatment, stretching in there, and then eat as soon as possible.
Oh wow, okay. Because yeah, I mean, I've seen matches where, for example, like you finish Saturday super late, and then on the Sunday you start early again.
Yeah,
earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
But like you say, if the distance to the hotel is quite far and the journey is quite tight in terms of traffic, it's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. So you can be a little bit stressed if you play late and you have to play afternoon the day after, because you usually don't sleep 3-4 hours afterwards because you're so pumped and adrenaline and everything. So yeah, it can be pretty tough, and that's why it would also be nice sometimes to have a day in between, like they have at the Grand Slams, because then you can you have a day to recover if you had a rough night.
Yeah.
So sometimes, it's also about who recovers the best, who will do well in tournaments. And yeah.
What are the top 3 highlights, I guess? I guess because training, people don't train to train. People train to win and do better, right?
I think my top 3 memories in terms of training has been some of the training blocks I've had in the lead up to Olympics. Like it sounds cliche, but it is the journey. Like a lot of hard training leading up to both the Tokyo and the Paris Olympics, and I actually had issues with my back both times. So those training blocks is something which I look back on as being like very special. And then also another fun example would be training at NAS, where I met Steph Curry, who was training there next to me. So to have him running around shooting hoops next to me while I was playing badminton was quite a big experience. I've also often practiced where Habib and Team Islam and stuff and the UFC guys are training. So to see the contrast between the sports is pretty interesting. So I'm fortunate that I am at NAS because I get a lot of exciting experiences there, and yeah, it's great.
Was Steph aware that he was also training with a fellow Olympic champion?
Yeah, he was like, obviously he had the conversation with the team that I was there and stuff like that, and yeah, he's very an amazing athlete, and it was very inspirational to see him practice as well, as train as well.
Mm-hmm. Who was watching who more?
I don't know. I would like to say it was 50-50.
Were you able to stay focused? Oh my gosh, like Steph next.
Yeah, I was able to stay focused.
You was locked in.
Eyes on the prize.
Eyes on the prize. Okay. Any questions you have for me?
So, like, what do you think the fans are sort of mostly interested in when it comes to training and recovery and stuff like that?
I think there's 2 sides of it. So one side, in terms of pure content perspective, yes. So there's so much online resource going on at the moment.
Yeah.
However, because it's so easily accessible, people can make it. Not everyone makes it at the right quality in the right way. So there's the right way, and I guess there's also the not so right way.
Yeah.
But if it comes from someone like you who has that form of credibility, and people already see that you perform at this elite level, but if you're able to tailor the content to all the way from beginner through to elite, I cannot see why it cannot work like that. I think people would happily, easily consume content. Obviously, for example, your backhand clear, backhand smash.
Yeah.
You look at that.
Like we did something in the past with the VA Academy and all that kind of stuff, but it's very hard, obviously, to go when you're active. But it will be something for maybe my retirement career to have a little bit of those videos as well. It would probably be good for the community.
I think so. I 100% agree. Great. And then also the ability for them to ask this form of questions that they want. So guys, if you're watching and listening, just comment some of the questions that you have specifically for Viktor, just to get a flavor of what you guys want out there.
Definitely.
It's really important. Not just guys, girls as well, because you see it you also train with ladies and tour. So absolutely,
Definitely.
And there's also a lot of transferable skills that you can actually put in place.
For sure. Like, hit us up in the comments with your questions for sure. And thanks for watching.
Yep. And we will see you in the next episode.
Yes. Subscribe, comment, share, so we can get this podcast rolling.
Yep.
Appreciate the support.
And we'll see you in the next one. Well, whichever camera we're looking at, but we'll see you, and we're looking at all of them. See you in the next one.
Thank you, Viktor.
Tactician. Take it. Pleasure.
Verstehst du echt nicht?
Los.
Es gibt einen Kaffee. Richtig?
Tannenbaum, oh Tannenbaum. You know what it means?
No, but it's a nursery rhyme, right?
Tree, rhyme. I was trying out different stuff like grounding, going bare feet in the grass.
Touching grass. Grounding, right?
Yeah, that sounds pretty extreme.
It was so hard. You guys make it look way too easy.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Who was watching who more?
I don't know. I would like to say it was 50-50.
Were you able to stay focused? Oh my gosh, like Steph's next.
Yeah, I was able to stay focused.
You was locked in.
Eyes on the prize.
Eyes on the prize.